Bitcoin is around $107,000, already surpassing that figure, that milestone, that amount we all had in mind and thought was so far away. Now I see it on social media, those memes we used to celebrate. When it went up by $5,000, and now it seems like nothing is happening. People are quite happy, but not euphoric. We see a contained happiness. Although we are all expectant, I think, I don't know if you feel the same, that the FOMO isn't there yet. The retail investor from previous cycles hasn't arrived yet. Although they have already written to us, some of them are probably calling you. But anyway, beyond the price, today we are in a special program. We are going to launch a new product. We've already launched it, and there are many users who are already trying it out. Our colleagues will join us, as always. Jose is at the controls, and behind him we have Giovanni, who just made it in time to join the program. How's it going, Giovanni?
Very well, very well. To be honest, good day. From Vertumeros, it's really incredibly astonishing to be here. This is a highly anticipated product that people have always been eagerly waiting for, so welcome. It's truly wonderful to be here and also to enthusiastically support the community with all the questions and concerns that have come up over these days. We're here to address and provide answers. So, great.
Thank you, Giovanni, for joining us. I want to greet everyone who is watching live. You never miss it. So Fran, Elvi, Roberto, Marta, Joan. And well, before we turn it over to Álvaro Durán, who is the head, the product manager, the one who has brought us this with the help of the whole team, I have to mention that too, but he is the one leading the way for this service to see the light. Well, let's talk a little about the context. I greet you, Álvaro, because I know you're around. How's it going, Álvaro?
Good afternoon, Javier. I'm delighted to be here with you. Being here is great news because we are presenting to everyone, to the public, to our users and community, a product that I believe will mark a turning point, not only in the B2B sector as a regulated company, but also in the crypto space, especially for users. Let's see how we are going to transition from everything we've been discussing, like DeFi, to a product incorporated or introduced within a regulated company that will allow us to take liquidity from an asset that has often raised questions about what to do with your Bitcoin, what you can do with your Bitcoin. So today we're going to see how we can take liquidity from it without having to part with it and make the most of all the opportunities it can offer us.
Well, I'm looking forward to hearing from you, Álvaro. Really excited. The goal of this webinar, Álvaro mentions, is to gain a deeper understanding and to clear up any doubts regarding all the questions that may arise when using a new product that you already have available. So, well, let's ask Álvaro all these questions that may arise. Before that, if you don't mind, I'm going to do a brief intro to set the context for the moment we're in beyond the price of those 106,800 that I'm seeing. I've got the 1 minute chart up, and I'm amazed at how the market is moving and the things that are happening today. Today, Monday, is basically the day after a new regulation has come into effect in the United States that directly affects the most important companies in the world, which have had difficulties until now in holding Bitcoin on their balance sheets. We have seen very specific, exceptional cases, we can say. With MicroStrategy, we've seen Tesla, we've seen Coinbase, and other American companies that have indeed held Bitcoin on their balance sheets. However, there were regulatory issues from an accounting perspective because this type of asset wasn't listed in a way that was adaptable in the company's treasury. Since yesterday, that has changed. As of December 15th, adaptable in the company's treasury. That has changed since yesterday, since December 15th. So we have a before and an after. What happened today as well? Well, Michael Saylor is still on his tour, his marathon of continuing to accumulate Bitcoin. He already has 435,000, 36,000. That's insane. Many believe he will accumulate 500,000 Bitcoin by the end of the year, and that's also having an impact on the price. We also see it with the ETFs. They keep accumulating. I've seen the chart from BlackRock, all those who have accumulated this year, and we're in uncharted territory in market discovery. I was talking earlier with a friend about the psychological moment. We're in within the cycle, whether we're in optimism or euphoria. I think we've just passed that confirmation point where we all needed Bitcoin to recover those figures, those values of $74,000. after 6 months. Now we've surpassed a very important psychological figure, which is 100,000, and now we're consolidating, we're starting to build. What's happening? Well, there's a growing media interest. We're seeing how Bitcoin is already appearing on television, how it's starting to be talked about everywhere, not just in the United States with Trump's cabinet, which will be governing this country in just 40 days, but also in Japan, where they're discussing Bitcoin as a potential strategic reserve, and in Brazil. There are many other countries that are also interested in taking steps in this direction. Therefore, I believe that we are facing a very bullish scenario for 2025 without this being investment advice, and that right now we need to have good tools, good products, good companies that allow us to enter the market, use services, systems that help us make our investment more efficient, like what Álvaro is going to present today with Bit2Me Loan, and that we can see it, right? Bit2Me Loan allows using Bitcoin as collateral, a globally recognized asset. This service, through Bit2Me, anticipates the financial sector's acceptance of Bitcoin for market liquidity, marking a shift from its traditional investment or payment role. With Jose, with Giovanni, that starting next year and in the coming years, we'll see the financial and banking sector also begin to accept this type of asset to provide liquidity to the market. And this is also a substantial change in how Bitcoin has functioned over all these years, where it has simply been used as an investment or at certain times as a means of payment. How is the rest of the market going to be affected? Well, I think it's going to keep developing. We're also seeing more movement with Ethereum ETFs and with much more favorable legislation. In the United States, we might see other ETFs for other cryptocurrencies being accepted as well. So, we're entering 2025, which couldn't be better from a fundamental perspective, with central banks lowering interest rates, as always, which also influences and increases liquidity. We've seen it with the European Central Bank. We've seen it with the Bank of China, which are increasing those fiat units, which are trash, they're garbage, and we need to protect ourselves today. Beyond the investments you've made, we're going to be answering questions about Bit2Me Loan, asking Álvaro how we can directly benefit from this new application that we can already find on Bit2Me in the app, available on both Google and iOS platforms. So it's now available to you. So Álvaro, I won't go on any longer. Let's get started if you want. A little bit from less to more, just a bit about how we've been working with Bit2Me Loan so far, and any data you want to share, explaining it in the simplest way so that everyone can understand. And from there, we'll also start asking you questions.
Yes, of course. Perfect. So, I'll do a brief intro. We'll see an introductory slide, and then we'll get into more detail about how the product works, how it is at the level, directly with the design of the utility within the app, and so on. To start off, we were talking about a new service, but it's really not a new service. It's a service that we've been working on for almost 2 years, make it a reality. For more than a year and a half, we've been conducting operations in this regard, primarily with Bitcoin for B2B operations, institutional ones, etc. And from there, we've been building what we are presenting today, which is essentially opening up the solution, an integrated solution in the app, which will soon also be available on the website and will allow all our users to access liquidity or utilize their digital assets. And from there, we've been building what we are presenting today, which is essentially opening up the solution, an integrated solution in the app, which will soon also be integrated into the website and will allow all our users the ability to access liquidity or utilize their digital assets, in this case, primarily with Bitcoin or Ethereum. All our users will be able to use the utility and benefit from this service, allowing them to access liquidity without selling their digital assets, which can often have tax implications. If you have capital gains, for example, maybe you bought Bitcoin or Ethereum a long time ago. In this sense, it ultimately remains a solution that we see many users are demanding, that they have been waiting for, and it allows them, without the need to sell, to perhaps buy a car or make a down payment for a car or a home, etc. If you have capital gains, for example, maybe you bought Bitcoin or Ethereum a long time ago, and in this sense, it ultimately remains a solution that we see many users are demanding, that they have been waiting for, and it allows them, without the need to sell, to perhaps buy a car or make a down payment for a car or a home, etc., to access that liquidity And in that sense, we've been at it for a year and a half. Right now, we've been a few weeks with the product that has been in beta phase, being tested by some users, etc. And we've been at it for almost a few days now. Last Thursday, we opened it up to 100% of our users. And the truth is that it's been received tremendously well. The use of it is becoming quite extensive, and that makes us happy because we really launched the product that users have been waiting for a long time. We had been seeing that DeFi, this type of product or service, takes a long time. And we're also talking about DeFi products for collateralization and borrowing funds primarily in stablecoins or even in other denominations, which accumulate. In March, we were talking about approximately $34 trillion accumulated in locked funds for taking out loans. And that in the end is a very, very large market that we are going to bring to an entity like Bit2Me in a regulated environment. We'll see later how this will benefit and further enhance this type of solution for both our users and users who want to use it within Bit2Me as well as in a regulated setting.
Oh, no, and in the end, could you explain collateralization simply for those unfamiliar? Also, define liquidity clearly so people understand collateralizing assets and obtaining liquidity. Historically, collateralization occurs in private banking, wealth management, and investment banking. An entity takes a client's asset, like stocks or securities, as collateral and provides liquidity, often with favorable interest rates. To provide a clear definition so that people can say, okay, I perfectly understand what it means to collateralize my assets, and I perfectly understand what it means to obtain liquidity.
Well, collateralization is something that has been done historically, mainly in some types of banking that are a bit more private, like wealth management and investment banking. In the end, the entity takes, let's say, an asset that the client already owns, in this case, stocks, securities, or titles as collateral, and with that guarantee, they provide you with liquidity, often with interest rates that might be more favorable, depending on the client, than if it were like, or let's say the loans that we all know, where the guarantee is us and it's our future income, our salaries, and so on. So collateralization is nothing more than what you just mentioned. A guarantee is leaving an asset that belongs to you in custody, the entity, but they keep it in case they need to use it to recover the funds they have lent you. That would be collateralization. And then let's say obtaining liquidity is nothing more than financing oneself. By taking funds to be able to finance or obtain the sufficient amount of funds for the desired purpose. Well, to contribute to the down payment for a house, the purchase of a house like mortgages, or to buy any type of asset, or reinvest in some kind of investment fund or any other matter.
Okay, so basically, the user who can use this product, this service, is someone who right now has, as you mentioned before, Bitcoin or Ethereum, and say, hey, I want to leave this Bitcoin and this Ethereum with Bit2Me. And in exchange for leaving it with Bit2Me, Bit2Me will give me a stablecoin, which would be that liquidity in USDC for whatever I see fit.
That's right. There's a very important clarification, which is that the user does not lose ownership of the asset they give to Bit2Me. The user retains ownership and is solely and exclusively held as collateral in the case that it becomes necessary to recover the funds that the entity has lent to the user. It would be used. In the meantime, the entity cannot use it for any other purpose or any other matter other than solely and exclusively for the custody and safeguarding of the collateral.
In that line, Álvaro, we have a question that aligns with that, coming from Marcelo Cabero. He asks, will it be possible to implement it with locked assets? In other words, I could take advantage of the interest from the locked assets to cover the loan request.
Are you referring to providing a locked asset as collateral?
Correct. That's exactly it.
Right now, there are no locks for Bitcoin or Ethereum. We only have active locks on ETH for the B2M token. And in the future, we already have the initiative identified. And what we want to do is that even if the assets are locked, those assets could be in earn generating returns for the users. But we're still in an early phase, but the idea is that in the future that can be done.
That is to say, that's exactly it. That initially, those assets would somehow be locked. You wouldn't be able to use them, not even for Bit2Me. Not to have them either with car or with prop, for example.
That's right. In the current version of the product, the funds wouldn't be available to use for any other service.
Sure. So imagine you've bought I don't know, half a Bitcoin, which is $50,000 euros, and you say, hey, right now I don't have liquidity, but I don't want to sell my Bitcoin. Why? Because I foresee that with everything that's happening in the world, what we talked about at the beginning with the ETFs, with the governments, is that Bitcoin continues to rise in price. So I need to buy something, a trip, a car, or for Christmas, or whatever. I need to have some extra USDC because I'm out of it since I have it saved in Bitcoin and I've spent my paycheck or whatever. I need to use that Bitcoin to get some euros or USDC because there are different purposes, right, Álvaro? Someone who can take out a loan by putting up Bitcoin or Ethereum can say, hey, what I want is to buy even more Bitcoin. With what they lend me, I can do that. Or what they lend me, I'll give 2 cases because I know it can be done, but just so we're clear, they lend it to me and I say with that I buy half a Bitcoin more. Obviously, I'm going to have to pay back the loan to free up what I put up as collateral, or that USDC they lend me, $25,000 or euros, I leave it in Bit2Me. I could leave that in another service because that liquidity is new. Those are 2 cases as examples, so we can understand each other with Bit2Me Loan.
Yes, totally. And here is the first introductory slide that I wanted to show to give context to the users about why Bit2Me Loan and what might be interesting for a Bit2Me Loan user. In the end, without overlooking, Bitcoin and its ability to accumulate value, it's definitely a good reason for a user to say, or if we haven't bought Bitcoin or have Bitcoin beforehand, it's a good reason to say, well, I can start buying Bitcoin, not with a one-time purchase, but with a periodic buying strategy to average the purchase price and so on, to avoid falling into a single purchase that could expose us to price volatility and all that. But in that sense, it's like saying, hey, I want to buy little by little, and I know that in a year and a half, hey, I'll be able to start taking liquidity from this asset that maybe in the medium term is already accumulating some value. Monthly changes in the short-term asset, if I bought periodically for over a year, I can access equity or reinvest in Bitcoin for any reason. Also, our users can come up with more ideas than we could think of. Well, hey, I can start taking the equity and maybe I need to access it. Or I want to reinvest in Bitcoin because I think it's a good time or for any reason. But I can think of 1,000 ideas, and surely our users can come up with 100,000 ideas more than we could even think of right now, more than we could even think of ourselves and that we can't even imagine right now. For example, I want to buy a phone and I've already bought $5,000 worth of Bitcoin, which is more than enough for me to collateralize a small part or a portion, get my phone, and I continue with my Bitcoin or the proportional part that I've bought in Bitcoin and I keep it. I won't part with it. Why? Because as we can see here in the graph, in the end, the cycles of Bitcoin, let's say historically, although this is not investment advice and past circumstances shouldn't be taken as indicators that they will repeat in the future, everything suggests that we are heading towards a new cycle of value accumulation. So those users who maybe bought 5,000 euros or dollars worth of Bitcoin in the previous cycle, well, we can understand that in the next cycle, they will have the same amount of Bitcoin, but with a higher valuation. So maybe they will say that they already have a value that maybe the kitchen renovation, if I take about 30% of the Bitcoin I have as a loan. I might be able to finance it without needing to go to the bank. Or maybe at the bank, they won't even give you financing because due to personal circumstances or anything else, they don't allow you to access financing. So it's going to be an opportunity for users, not just for those who have had assets for a long time or who have been accumulating Bitcoin over the last few years, but also for those who will be accumulating, as they will definitely be able to. You can take liquidity to reinvest or also to invest in traditional funds or real estate. To die from the action, there's a question, but people were active. There's a question from Johanny. I think that's how it's pronounced. Yes, we were just reading it. Montserrat Fernandez asks us what the minimum amount you can request as a loan is and the maximum as well. As of today, the minimum we have set through the application for the service is 100 units of dollars, USDC, or digital euros. In this sense, the maximum we have set is 1 million, but obviously due to other circumstances. But if a user had enough funds to guarantee the operation, then it would definitely be an operation we could manage. In the end, what we are looking for is security for everyone, both for the user and for the entity. And ultimately, if we have an operation that is completely backed by assets, then we could definitely process it if it exceeds 1 million. But initially for retail users or users, we have it set at 1 million.
So you're saying that initially it's an automated service in the app, but there could be a possibility that when the time comes, it could be personalized again for some specific cases if we need it, right?
That's right, yes. Additionally, we will be able to introduce those operations directly into the service, even if it's in a more personalized way, but users will be able to see those operations, maybe for larger amounts, in the app and on the website. But there won't be any problem with that.
Okay. You put this graph up, Álvaro, to see the potential, to look at the cycles, how that multiplier has behaved, and then that correction that we need to keep in mind, of course, even though you said that past behaviors don't guarantee future behaviors. Still, we all have a bit of an idea of the scenario we have. So why does it fit? Or why did you put this graph in a product like loan? What do you want to say to the people?
What I mentioned earlier gives a general overview to those users who have been acquiring Bitcoin in the past and to those who are considering it today. In other words, I know that what I save in Bitcoin is going to experience volatility in the short term, but in the medium to long term, I'm going to accumulate a value that in a certain time frame, it will surpass what I've been saving or what I've been investing in this asset. In the meantime, users will be able to take liquidity from that same asset without needing to sell it or part with it and take advantage of these types of bond simulations.
You leave collateral at a price, for example, at $100,000. You request 50,000, Bitcoin rises in price, it goes up to 200,000, and you could use that gain from the rise in Bitcoin to pay off the loan.
Pay off the loan or keep it, because in the end, if you expect it to keep accumulating value, and with the scenario we have ahead with the United States, we already know everything. You've mentioned it before too. We see that all the major fund managers internationally are positioning themselves very clearly. So there is, in that sense, an expectation of an asset on the rise. I can keep taking liquidity in the short term, even in the medium term, and continue earning or accumulating value in the asset without having to sell it. That's the great importance.
Like what Michael Saylor is doing, going all in.
Well, it's another level.
On the other hand, Álvaro, we also have some concerns here. For example, Sergio asks us, do you pay taxes on the credit obtained? Since it refers to the fact that it's not necessary, it's not a traditional bank loan. In this case, would you also have to pay taxes on that credit?
Sure, if you don't mind, Giovanni, we'll answer that later. Further on, let's continue with the presentation to make the introduction, and then we'll get into the details. We're going to go through those points one by one in more detail regarding what advantages it has and so on. If that sounds good to you, I'll continue. Very quickly, in a very simple way, Bit2Me Loan is a digital asset loan service based on an over-collateralization model to ensure the recovery of the funds that are lent. Of course, this does not mean that all loans will be liquidated, but quite the opposite. Ultimately, we want to provide security to the user so that the user can manage both what they have borrowed, returning it, and in case there is any movement in the market, they could provide more collateral to maintain the loan. And in this case, we've opted for the main assets in the market, like Bitcoin and Ethereum, due to their high liquidity. This way, we will allow users to obtain funds very quickly, practically in seconds. If you're not familiar with the service, it might take you a minute to understand it and get into the rest. But if any user has any questions or doesn't understand something, we have a lot of information built into the utility. And of course, they will have the support of our customer service, which is available at any time. If they need help, they can reach out via WhatsApp or phone, and they will be able to assist them and help them operate securely within minutes. Here, just to explain a bit about what I've been saying, this is what I started with. That has been our evolution. We launched product in a more personalized model, Prime or whatever we want to call it, as an MVP to test, try out, and develop the product that we're launching these weeks. We've had that product active for almost a year and a half, and we're already in Q4 of 2024. We have achieved the goal of launching what we call Loan 2.0, integrated into the app, and it will soon also be available on the website. And what we were talking about earlier, Giovanni, is that we're going to have this integrated service, but of course, for large operations, we still have the Prime service, which is a more personalized service for big accounts, companies, and so on. But that doesn't mean that companies or large accounts can't operate through the app or the website if they want to. If the operations aren't very large, they'll be able to operate normally. Here I present to you the design of the calculator, the onboarding, which is simply an informative onboarding, and how you can find Bit2Me Loan. All users who have Bitcoin and Ethereum in their wallet or somewhere on the platform will see a banner that informs them of the amount they can request. This is done through Bit2Me Loan, updated in real time based on the value of the Bitcoin and Ethereum they have within Bit2Me. If you are a new user and don't have any assets in Bit2Me yet and want to explore and learn about Bit2Me Loan, you will need to access it through the upper left menu. Through Bit2Me Loan, updated in real time based on the value of the Bitcoin and Ethereum you have within Bit2Me. If you're a new user and don't have any assets in Bit2Me yet and want to explore and learn about Bit2Me Loan, you will need to access it through the upper left menu. If you expand it, you'll see the long option and it will appear with that detail in red again, and you will be able to access it. The first time you access it, an informative onboarding appears, explaining in 3 quick screens, like the one you see, what Bit2Me Loan is, etc. Explaining the basics, super intuitive. It would finish and would move to a screen where we could, from that, access the loan simulation. We talk about the simulator because we want all users, whether they want to request a loan or not, to be able to access it, to simulate, to play around, to use it as they wish, and to want to try it out and see how it works. Hey, well, look, I currently have my BTCs in the Coil wallet, or I have them in Air, but I want to know, or I want to try and see how it works, how much they would give me for them, or how much interest I would pay. You will have all the information here in the calculator. You will be able to expand the bar or slide the bars to the right or to the left. You will also be able to click inside the box and edit with the keyboard the amount of what you want to borrow, as well as what you will deposit as collateral. You will be able to select by clicking. on the denominations for both the collateral or guarantee, as well as the stable coins or what you want to borrow, and a drop down will appear for you to choose the denomination you want. And depending on the denomination, amount, etc., there will be at the bottom of the calculator the interest rate and its bonus based on your space center level. In the end, there is an initial interest rate. Depending on your space center level, you will have one bonus or another. Then, well, obviously there's already a complex concept here like LTV, which stands for loan to value, and it's the ratio of what is borrowed compared to what is deposited as collateral or guarantee. So what we're doing right now is that 50%, which means we're going to give you 50% of the 100% of what you deposit as collateral. That is to say, if you deposit 100 Bitcoin, we will let you borrow 50 USDT or USD. What to add if it drops? Daily interest on your loan, interest rate without space center level, daily interest without space center level. Detailed information includes when it will be added to your wallet, what you'll add as collateral if it decreases, and the daily interest on your loan. It also covers the interest rate without the space center level and the daily interest you'd pay without it. To request a loan, ensure sufficient wallet funds. Note that funds must be in the wallet, even though calculations consider all platform funds. Currently, collateral can only be taken from the wallet due to technical reasons. Then it would be to request the loan if we are interested and have sufficient funds in the wallet. Here, it's important to mention that the funds required to request the loan must be in the wallet, even though we do the calculations and everything with all the funds that are on the platform. As of today, due to how the product has been launched and for technical reasons, we can only take the collateral or guarantees from the wallet. We already have initiatives in place so that in the future this doesn't become a small hassle for the user, where they'll have to move funds to the wallet to request the loan.
No, okay. Well, yes, sorry, Álvaro. Look, the next thing should be if I start the loan at a level, for example, 5, and while I'm during the loan, I move up to level 6 or 7, what happens? Will it change or will it stay with the loan at the initial level, that discount or that
receipt, Giovanni? Initially, and in the end, the starting interest rate is always the same. What will change is the bonus based on your level. That is to say, if during the life of the loan you change levels, either up or down, the bonus will change. Therefore, if we level up, a higher bonus will be applied. And if we level down, a lower bonus will be applied. If we stay the same, obviously, bonus would be the same from the start of the loan to the end. But if we go up or down, that bonus will also go up or down. I answered the question, right, Ivani?
Excellent. Thank you very much. Yes, that was exactly the concern. If I start in one way and level up, then I'm going to improve that percentage.
That's right. You're going to be able to take advantage of it, well, if you want to have a loan for several months. And in the meantime, while you're completing missions, you're accumulating points, you're leveling up, you're going to benefit from that level increase during the life of the loan for those 6 months. If you maybe level up in month 1 and then level up again in month 3, then you'll keep benefiting from those increases.
We had another question here. Let's see. It's quick to answer from Tony, Latoni39 Perez, who asked, is the loan only for Bitcoin or can you buy something else? No, because of what we mentioned earlier about accumulating to you if you want. We can answer quickly, Álvaro. You get the loan in a stablecoin, okay? In USDT or USDC. With that stablecoin, you can do whatever you want. You can leave it in staking. You can buy another cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, or any other. You can convert it to euros and send it to your bank account. You can do whatever you want. It's not that you're given a loan just to buy Bitcoin, but for what you are interested in doing at that moment.
You can even use it directly with the card, easily with the Bit2Me card.
We have an example for later with all the use cases, etc. And we're going to see some very, very, very interesting uses there. And also, as Giovanni mentioned, we're going to see what possibilities there are with other B2B products, which is where we will ultimately see that it has tremendous potential. Well, let's continue a little bit about what the design is so that those users who are interested or want to try it already have that first introduction and know what the design is like. In the end, once we've simulated the loan and click to apply for the loan, we'll accept contract, the terms and conditions with the amounts we've selected, and it will show us here on the main loan page the different positions, loans, both USC and the denomination we select. View loans activity and movement history. A banner shows financing capacity. The simulator is always available. Total collateral info is in the loan section. Compare collateral to borrowings. We'll also see that banner indicating the amount or the financing capacity we have constantly, regardless of whether we've requested loans or other loans with digital assets. And the simulation part will always be available. We can always go to the simulator and play with it. Now we also have incorporated another piece of information right from the total active loan section, which is how much we have in total contributed as collateral, which is something we already have integrated and is part of the service. And of course, if we have a lot of operations and different collaterals put up as guarantees, we will always want to know what value it has compared to what we have borrowed. If we have 10 loans, 5 loans, or 4 loans, we will want to have that information gathered together. And of course, if we have a lot of operations and different collaterals put up as guarantees, we're always going to want to know what value they have compared to what we have borrowed. If we have 10 loans, 5 loans, or 4 loans, we're going to want to have that information gathered together. Hey, how much do I have in assets provided as collateral, and how much do I have pending to return or taken as a loan?
Álvaro. Sorry. That would also answer to, you can request multiple loans, but yes, you can have several loans at the same time. Let's suppose have a balance of 500 euros, okay? Then I could ask for one of 100. And later, the next day or weeks later, I could ask for another 100 and another 100 until I reach that maximum. That's right. In fact, Jacobo from Arle is at the peak point because I was going to explain exactly the green bar that appears there, which is pretty cool, showing what your position is with all the combined loans.
Álvaro was there.
The green bar actually presents here the single loan.
It doesn't combine multiple ones. If you have several, it doesn't combine them. That's the same as the collateral screen?
No, the screen on the right is the details of a transaction. The detail screen. What I was saying is that in the end, we're going to have this main screen where we'll see all the operations and we'll see the main information, how much we've borrowed in each of the positions. We're going to be able to take as many loans as we want. As Giovanni asked, if we have quantity and we want to order little by little, will we be able to do it? Or do we want to request it in different denominations? Why do we want to take a little in dollars, another little in euros, or any other reason? Let's see. Hey, I want to take a loan with Ethereum and another one with Bitcoin. And for the Bitcoin part, I want to take 2. Let's see the whole loan relationship there. Each user will have the freedom to do it as they wish. Always. If the operation is greater than 100 units, either in dollar stablecoin or euro stablecoin. And then if we go to one of the positions we see on the left screen, for example, the first one, if we click on it, we would access to the screen that shows the details of the transaction here. And then I'm going to connect it with what you mentioned, Javier, because on the right screen is the details of the transaction. Here, we're going to see what we've borrowed, and we'll also see the relevant collateral we've put up, what we have locked for that operation. We're going to see that green, orange, red, or blue bar, depending on the loan situation. It's a little bar, we call it. You can click on it and it gives you all the information about what it means. It's risk indicator. With this little bar, users will be able to constantly monitor the risk level of the operation. It could be that we consider that from 50% down to 65% is in a low risk category. No, that is to say there's still a lot of room for the user to take actions. Now we'll discuss what those could be. When you exceed the LTV, which is the ratio between what I have requested in a loan and what my collateral is worth, the higher it is, it means that the value of my collateral has decreased in relation to the loan, or that the loan has increased in relation to the collateral due to the accumulation of interest. For example, if the loan for the operation is at medium risk, which is from an LTV of 65%, the bar will turn orange. And additionally, the operation will show a box, in this case, orange, informing the user that the operation has entered medium risk. Also, on the previous screen of the main loan screen, there will appear the detail, the little box, instead of being blank as we see it, will show up in the color corresponding to the situation, whether it's orange for medium risk, red for high risk, or if that operation has been liquidated. And that's super important because right on the main screen of Bit2Me Loan, as Javier mentioned, related to this bar, the user will be able to see at a glance what color or situation each operation is in. If it's blank, it means it's fine. If it's orange, it means it's at medium risk. If it's red, it means it's at high risk, and the user should either repay part of what they've borrowed, or they can add more collateral to increase it and reduce that LTV and the risk of the operation. These colors will also be on the home screen of the app.
Just like on the home screen, we have the car section, the air section, and the different sections for all the services. We're also going to have a long section, and the long section will be configured with these colors based on what we have in the main screen of the application. In that case, at a glance, as we were discussing, most questions will be resolved on the go. That said, you can put 2 or 3 assets as collateral in the same loan, which is quite interesting. You could use a bit of USDT and Bitcoin for a single loan, or just USDT or Bitcoin. Each operation will only have one collateral.
What it doesn't change is that the user might want to borrow funds totaling approximately $1,000 on the platform between Bitcoin and Ethereum, and that won't stop the user from putting in a certain amount to get 100 USDTs with Bitcoin as collateral, and another 100 USDTs with Bitcoin collateral from Ethereum. That won't limit him. So in the end, that part results in a situation where the user requests a loan with Bitcoin as collateral, takes a portion, whatever portion they want, and puts up whatever collateral they want in Ethereum to take the other part. They are going to be 2 different operations, but in this case, you'll be able to use it without any problem. Looking ahead, we may be able to put multiple guarantees in one transaction. At the moment, we do not have it planned like that because user can equally arrange the funds he needs with 2 operations with the alternate guarantee.
All right, essentially at the very beginning with the first version, it would involve multiple loans, but not in one. In other words, you can do several, as we've referenced, but not for a single loan to have 2 collaterals. Instead, you can use them as many times as needed until you reach the limit you have for using them as collateral.
That's right, yes. You'll be able to do it this way without any problem. And continuing a bit with the line we were discussing, with the bar, with the risk indicator, if we exceed 65%, we will be at medium risk. If we exceed 75%, we will be at high risk. And at both milestones, we would communicate to the Ponito user through notifications, emails, and the bar itself, along with the color change of the operations, saying this operation is in orange, this operation is in red, etc. And the user will be able to visually see and control how all the operations are going and manage them. As we mentioned, there we see the button to return USDT. The user will be able to return funds or part of the loan at any time they want. There won't be a need to set a payment schedule or anything like that. The user will open the loan and will be able to return it however they want. If they want to return $50 every week or every month or every 15 days or every 20 days, they can set an alarm, open the app, and return it. On that side, it will be totally flexible and the user will be able to operate with complete flexibility and freedom in that sense. At the moment, the operation, as I mentioned before, is at medium or high risk. The user will also be able to provide more collateral to rebalance the risk of the operation.
No, go ahead. Continue. It's aligned. Now I'll ask you the question.
All right. And then we have the information from Space Center, how much we can improve our type of operation or our bonus on the loan. You go to our level, and then down at the bottom, there's still a little more screen left where we have all the essential information about the loan. We have current interest rate, we have the bonus, we have the LTV, and we also have the liquidation point, the reference price for liquidation. There's also another section further down that will indicate the reference prices for each of the risk points, including medium, high, and liquidation. And the reference price for liquidation that we have there, on the opening date, we'll be able to copy the operation ID directly from this screen. We're also going to have visibility on another line showing how much we've borrowed, how much we've repaid, and how much we still have left to repay. We're also going to have a button to download the contract for the operation if we want to have it in PDF format and save it to our email or on our personal phone or computer. This is in case, for example, in one of the use cases, well, if we want to buy a house and we withdraw the funds we've borrowed and the financial institution or the car dealership, if we're buying a car, asks us to justify where those funds are coming from. We're going to have the contract there that with just a click, if the dealership asks for it, you'll be able to download it, save it, and send it to them via email right at that moment. And we also have all the information about the movements related to this specific operation. In other words, they will see all the information.
Look, let's make a clarification because there might be people, and I think several have asked, Giovanni, you've seen it out there, who are asking about the interest rate that will be charged. What I would say to everyone right now is, while Álvaro is explaining all these details, if you have your phone in hand and you open the Bit2Me app, make sure you check the balance in the wallet. This is very important. In the wallet, not in Bit2Me Earn, but in the wallet and specifically in Bitcoin and Ethereum, of course.
Well, Javier, an important point is that even if you don't have funds in your wallet, you'll still be able to access the calculator and simulate any operations you want.
Okay, what I wanted to get to is that if you go on your phone, open the app and go to the loan service, there, depending on your level in Space Center, you'll automatically see the percentage that is charged to you because it's not the same percentage for everyone. So if you log into your account and go to that space, you'll be able to see it. And then something Álvaro mentioned that I think is very important to emphasize is the ease of repaying that loan, that USDC, or those tokens that have been given to you completely freely, that you have control and are adapted to what interests you. If you want to make a larger payment at the beginning and then pay little by little, or let some time pass for the asset's price to go up, or any strategy you follow, there is no fee. It's fixed, which is something we talked about together before the program, and I find it very interesting, right? You can take out a loan and say, look, this month it's better for me to repay 30%, so I do that. And next month I repay a little less, and that doesn't impact you. It doesn't change the conditions being offered to you at any time, right? So, well, then...
An interesting topic that aligns with Carlos Orial's question is, what if my collateral keeps increasing in value to the point where I could pay off the loan? Could I use that locked collateral for that? We've mentioned that on some occasions.
Not right now. The collateral cannot be used. Looking ahead, this is one of the approaches we are also considering. In other words, these are improvements that we will be introducing to the product in the coming months and over the next year. This will surely be one of the main enhancements for the user. As I mentioned at the beginning, we've been working with operations since April, May 2023. there are users who have taken advantage of this entire increase, who have accumulated a lot of value in the asset they had as collateral and have preferred to liquidate with a part of the collateral. Surely the app will implement it so that a user suddenly has an LTV of 15% and wants to liquidate part of their asset because it has already reached a certain value and they consider it that way. Well, why not? In the end, what we want with Bit2Me Loan is for the user to be able to work on their own terms and not have any kind of constraints in that sense. As long as it's positive for us and for the user, it will be something we implement sooner or later. Obviously, I would love for the product to launch with all the features and all the possible options so that we could all play with everything. But in the end, we had to start with the first version. We have identified a lot of improvements and implementations.
You also mentioned that there are users who have been testing it even before it was implemented in the app. Santiago, for example, Santiago Perez tells us, if I already have a loan with this service, can I check the details of my loan from the app? What is the maximum term to repay the loan? So you already had the loan previously, and now I can see that data directly there from an old loan, so to speak, that I have active.
For now, it's still not going to be possible. We're going to have to wait a little longer, but the idea is for them to be integrated so that we can transfer all those loans we have, that there are users who have through the more personalized model to be able to integrate them into the app. In this regard, there will also be users who, due to leveling up, having their collateral increase significantly in value and so on, might want to cancel those loans because they might have a worse interest rate, or because now that they've leveled up, if they recover their collateral, they can request a larger loan. So they will likely be able to cancel those loans to apply for a new one directly through the app. Since we launched the product and started opening it up, we've had many cases of users saying, hey, my collateral is now worth double what it was when I took out the loan. I want to recover part of it and take out the loan just like the one I have, but with less collateral. And already through the app, to be able to have all this information, to be able to do all the tracking in real time through the app, etc. It is true that for the old loans that remain, we plan to have them directly incorporated through the app in the coming, let's say, months of 2025. The only thing is, well, it's going to be more complex because we're going to have to ask those clients for authorization, etc. It takes a bit more work on the matter, but, well, everyone needs to be able to visualize and have access to the information just like we have it in the app.
Luis Riado is asking us what happens if the loan is not settled within 12 months. We've mentioned that it's very flexible to pay it back whenever you want. It could be in a few hours, in a few days, in a few months. And he referred to 12 months. Is there any limit as such to the 12 months?
Well, initially the loan doesn't have, let's say, a fixed term, 100% defined. It is true that in the contract, which might be where the question is coming from, it states that they are renewable for 12 months. This is a regulatory issue that is legally required. But the idea is that the user can keep the loan for as long as they want. In that sense, it won't reach 12 months and it will have to be repaid. As we've mentioned, the user will be able to pay whenever they want and can obviously understand it like insurance, which is renewable annually. In the end, if you don't say anything, the loan will continue and you either pay it back or due to any serious market conditions, Bit2Me might decide that after 12 months, that loan can't continue for any reason. But broadly speaking, what we want is for users to be able to access the loans for as long as they want, as long as their collateral or guarantee covers the operation within the defined parameters. Other
thing, Álvaro, there's also a reference here. Murillo says, but USDT will disappear from Europe at the end of December for not complying with the MyCA law. Regardless of when that might happen, that USDT is not available due to the MACA law, what can we do? In other words, let's say that starting in June of next year, or even by the end of next year, USDT is no longer available. What would happen if I have it in Tether? Could I then pay back that loan with another stable coin?
Well, see about that. It's still not 100% defined through the app. Right now, as we've gone out and with this uncertainty, the Tether denominations are not available for borrowing. Therefore, users are not going to have that problem. As soon as we are certain that we can include them or not, we will see. But in principle, if in the case of Cara Futuro, they mentioned that they were already working on a stablecoin that would be MiCA compliant, etc., in that sense, we will be incorporating not only the Tether denominations, but also other denominations that obviously may interest our users, both stablecoins and other digital assets, etc. And in that sense, yes.
We would adapt according to circumstances. As we have already mentioned, we are adapting to all the regulations and the MiCA law. In that case, if at any point that changes, we would also adapt to it. If you were in a stablecoin and it is no longer available, we would adapt to that so that the user can continue to maintain their loan.
That's right. And now, well, look, here I have on the screen, besides the information that's on the Bit2Me Loan landing page, which we use to clarify a bit about the advantages of Bit2Me Loan as a service. And you'll understand me now, because then come the advantages of the service integrated into the app in the Bit2Me application. This new loan is over-collateralized, linked to digital assets, and not in any database. That means that, well, it doesn't follow the rules or the guiding principles of traditional loans. Since it's an over-collateralized loan and involves digital assets, it isn't registered in any database, nor do we consult any type of database, whether it's CIR, IBEX, NET, RAY, etc. No, default non-payment, etc. database. In the end, the user is registered on the platform. The user, operationally, I can operate normally with Bit2Me. It has gone through all its customer knowledge, all its source of funds, etc. Just like any compliance procedure of a regulated financial entity. And in that sense, the user will be able to operate as long as they have the funds on the platform. We have many users who are fully registered and will be able to operate right away and request the loan without needing to do absolutely anything else. They won't have to ask their office manager to send it to risk assessment for a report or to get a credit score, etc. There, users will be able to enter the application and operate. And also, in a pre-approved manner, I'll finish with this. In a pre-approved manner, because they will already have the funds, they will already be a registered user, and we won't need to do any checks or any type of analysis on the client. It's a registered user on the platform and also has the funds. All we want is to provide liquidity and make it as simple, easy, and fast as possible for them to access that liquidity.
Álvaro, we have a very recurring question, even before starting the live session. In this case, I'm going to read Jeray's question, which says, in the future, will it be possible to use B2M tokens as collateral? What can you tell us about that?
We have many tokens and various other related assets being carefully evaluated to be integrated into our comprehensive service throughout 2025. And obviously, the B2M token is one of the tokens that we are considering incorporating in the near future. There, we also need to see and understand what the specific needs are, the requirements, etc. of the situation. But clearly and obviously, not only is the token already incorporated into the product so that it essentially allows you to access the bonus and the reduction of your own interest on the loans. Depending on the touches you have, you will be on one level or another, apart from everything that you do within the platform and the missions that you fulfill. But surely in 2025, we will see, I hope so, because we need validation of certain issues. but that we can incorporate it within those assets as collateral. And obviously those users who have bet on Bit2Me, on the Bit2Me token, can also take liquidity based on that asset. That obviously for us is like, or an analogy of that blood.
In fact, I can contribute something factual here. Lace authorized one of the administrators of the Telegram group to say that a spoiler is that among the upcoming units or tokens that will be available, it would be B2M. So in a way, Lace has already been supporting this, meaning we have it planned that it would, in essence, potentially be one of the tokens prepared to be used as collateral in the future, essentially.
That's right. And then, well, continuing with the advantages in relation to what you were saying before, Javier and Giovanni, regarding the tax issue, let us make it clear that we are not tax specialists. We cannot advise on tax issues. What we can do is explain the potential advantages that a user can have by taking out a loan with digital assets through Bit2Me Loan. Here, the personal or specific circumstances of each user, company, etc. can be multiple. They can be very varied, and we always recommend that you go to a professional and a tax specialist to determine what is most convenient or how this type of product would suit the user or the company. But we can say that obviously there are tax advantages to a loan, always considering personal circumstances, because it also depends on when you bought the asset, etc. If it's an asset you've had for a medium to long time, it has likely accumulated quite a bit of value. And if you sold it, you would incur capital gains that you would have to pay taxes on. So you could access liquidity without the need for a sale, which gives it a potential advantage in that sense. Hey, if I have an asset that has significantly increased in value, how can I access liquidity based on it without having to sell it? And that wouldn't just come from the tax optimization side, but also from the need to hold on to your cryptos. In the sense of what we talked about in the first slide, if we have an expectation, regardless of the short-term volatility of the asset, which is its appreciation in the medium and long term, and our investment thesis is to hold it for the long term, what will always interest us is not to part with that asset and to finance ourselves based on it. It's, well, in short, it's a bit like what a mortgage does. In the end, I acquire an asset that I don't fully own until I pay off the mortgage. In short, it's a bit like what a mortgage does. In the end, I acquire an asset that I don't fully own till I pay off the mortgage. But in the end, I have an asset that I know won't lose value or might even gain value over time, like a house to rentee in case of defaulting on the mortgage. And in that sense, it's something similar, not exactly the same as in their skills, many of them, but something very similar. Then there's also the part about the flexibility we were talking about. In the case of tax optimization, we also need to mention the business aspect. In the end, the interest is potentially for freelancers and businesses. It could be considered a financial expense, and depending on the case, it could also be used as an advantage when using it as a financial expense within the company and being able to deduct it, etc. In that sense, it can also have those kinds of advantages.
Álvaro, you also mentioned that in the first images, a lot of information could be seen here. Rental asks us a question and says, does the exact price that the asset you leave as collateral needs to reach for liquidation appear?
Yes. The exact price appears, meaning there is a reference price at which it will be liquidated. Why? Because it may be that interest is accumulated every X period of time. That price will vary constantly, and then, obviously, when the market order is executed, there may be a small movement that we increase in a certain way. We're going to liquidate at 85%, and we're going to try to automate those liquidations so that they are executed as quickly as possible. We use highly liquid assets like Bitcoin and Ethereum for that very reason, so that when we go to liquidate the operation, we can go to the market and do it almost immediately. We are talking about that there are assets on the market, not crypto, but traditional that we can or may be in for months, years to sell. They need to be looking for qualified investors, other funds, etc., to write those types of assets. We're talking about Bitcoin and Ethereum, which are among the most liquid assets in the market today. And it's also true that in the end, we can go to the market and sell it at that price without causing minimal harm. It's not exact. I would say it's not exact as you mentioned the price, but the risk meter comes into play here, where the 75% and 85% thresholds are for those decision-making processes. That's right. But at the bottom of that screen, there will be a box specifying the price at each moment that refers to each level. That is to say, the price of the collateral asset will be identified so that it is at a medium level, high level, and at the liquidation point.
That risk meter, it can generate some concern. How are we going to receive those types of notifications? It was also mentioned that there would be information about it on the main screen. But if I say somehow want to know how I'm going to be notified, will it be by email? How is it going to be?
That's right. Let's go ahead. We'll use many channels to communicate. Notifications might not reach users without coverage, phone, or email. We'll notify them via push notifications, in-app alerts, emails, and color signals, orange for medium risk, red for high risk, so they can act quickly. And we won't be able to go to where they are, but we will notify them in every possible way. We can, through push notifications, in-app notifications, we'll send emails, and we'll use color signals, orange for medium risk and red for high risk, so that as soon as the user becomes aware of it, they can take the necessary actions. Well, either by repaying part of the loan or by increasing the collateral for the well to readjust the LTV. That's true, Álvaro.
Yes, it is true that with the, sure. A question that Giovanni asked earlier was about highs and lows. And you mentioned that we can start using Bit2Me Loan. Just 100 euros. For someone who has never used this type of product and says, hey, I want to try it, but without committing too much. Well, you can use it with 100 euros to see how you receive those 50, how you can use them, and how when you return those 50 euros, it adjusts, the loan you requested ends, and you'll be able to interact with the entire platform as if you were doing it with a much larger amount. But first, this is like buying Bitcoin. I tell everyone, until you buy 10 euros, you don't have that first step. It's the same with this. If it's a new product, you don't want to use a large amount. Use 100 euros, see how it works, and you might have questions of hesitation saying, hey, I don't understand the asset. I don't understand the technology. I don't want to invest. Well, it's the same with this. If it's a new product, which Álvaro explained very well, but you don't want to use a large amount, then hey, since it starts at 100 euros, I'll use 100 euros, get 50, see how it works, check out the percentages, see how I can pay it back, and from there I might have some questions.
In fact, some users, among their strategies to overcome that fear of trying it out, in addition to the simulation, they also have precisely that option. Let's assume we have a balance of up to 500 euros. Well, as you said, Javier, you can try it out, for example, with 100 euros without any worries, because you know you'll have the ability to pay it back instantly if that risk meter changes. That said, there's also a question from we have an old client, says Luisabel, I have an old loan. Let's say that in the event of a sudden market movement, I want to cancel, release collateral, and sell. Can I do that automatically? If not, what about in the middle of the weekend, for example?
We'll be able to pay it back and make the payment whenever we want. That is wherever we are. At any moment we want, we'll have it available 24/7, just like we open Bitcoin every day of the year, 365 days. So what do you think if we go over some real cases? Practical examples of people who are already using it, and if any of us have already done it, as I mentioned before, I encourage everyone to try the operation if they have enough funds, and if not, I encourage them to try to get the funds to do the test. And in the end, I think that Javier was quite right, that in the end, after trying it out, losing some of the fear, trying to understand the product, the feedback we have received from users who have used it so far is that it is very intuitive, very easy. And in the end, I think that if it is used, I think people will like it a lot. They will find it very intuitive.
In fact, I know of some users who, especially now that we're in the holiday season with shopping coming up, etc., some users, among the strategies they've used, basically say, well, I have an extra paycheck coming in for Christmas. I'm doing my shopping now by taking a loan with Bitcoin Lateral and going halfway, so to speak, or asking for the minimum I have to ensure that I can pay it back without any problem. They're actually making purchases now with the B2B MasterCard. Having that CASBA of up to 7% and having that loan means that when that extra paycheck comes in or whenever you want, because as we've mentioned, you can pay it back immediately, whether it's the weekend, the early morning, or at night. So they're using these kinds of strategies even for holiday shopping, taking advantage of the CASBA from the card, for example, among other things. I even know that some have gone a bit further with the discounts, the extra CASBA from B2Me Life.
Yes, we're going to see that now. I'll quickly move to this slide because this is the advantage it will have, which we've talked about a lot, practically all of them, that the product is integrated into the app. We were talking about the service. The advantage that a service like B2B Loan gives you is that it's flexible. You can pay it back at any time and you can keep it for as long as you want. We're going to see that thanks to the integration of the service in the app. We will allow all our users to take out loans with digital assets. It's going to be an instant approval, as we mentioned earlier, without the need for scoring. If you have the funds and you're registered and all set on the platform, you'll be able to request the loan in a matter of, I'd say, seconds. But well, if you're a beginner, maybe it takes a minute, but if you're not a beginner, it takes seconds. As soon as you hit accept, you'll see how the funds you requested as a loan will be automatically deposited. Repay anytime, anywhere, even on what you asked earlier, Giovanni, is that you can pay it back quickly at any time, in any moment, circumstance, or even while traveling. If you're away, you'll be able to log into the app and start paying back the loan if you want. And then you'll also have the indicator, which for me is something fundamental for tracking the risk of the operations. And then obviously something that is also important is to know at all times what financing capacity you have based on your assets. It's not the same to do it 8 months ago at the value Bitcoin was then as it is now. What financing capacity you have based on your assets. It's not the same to do it 8 months ago at the value Bitcoin was then as it is now. So you'll know and be able to adjust your needs and you'll be able to align those operations accordingly. And in that sense, I think it's a tremendous qualitative leap. And so, well, here with all the operations we've signed so far, in the last year and a half that we've been operating, we have the main ones. And here is what we were talking about earlier. We can talk about real cases. We see in the last part, multi-purpose investment. Well, buying vehicles. Well, the first one to mention it was Leif. He said he bought a car by taking out a loan based on the Bitcoin he had. A very famous brand that many have bought several using Bit2Me Loan. We see how users' trips have been financed and master's degrees have been paid for. There are also users who have reinvested in Bitcoins considering the macro environment we're in after the US elections, etc. Then there are also users who today have a project that they launched thanks to being able to finance it with the Bitcoins they had been buying over the last few months, years. And then another very common use case is for buying real estate, the real estate topic, being able to pay the down payment for a home. Many times they tell you, well, don't worry. If you go to another institution and ask for a personal loan and they give it to you, then, hey, sure, I'll give you the loan, right? So in the end, this way, with an asset you already have and that you won't need to part with, you'll be able to finance that down payment much faster. And you'll likely be able to access a lender that can offer you the formalization of the mortgage loan.
Just clarify.
I'm not talking about spoilers, but maybe 2025 is too soon. However, I hope that around 2026, we can start offering even mortgage loans.
Could you clarify? See, there's some concern starting to arise. Lark says, but is it a loan from a tax perspective or not? I think it's quite interesting to differentiate whether it's a loan from a tax perspective or not, since it's a loan that you'll obtain with stablecoin?
That is to say, it is essentially a loan. Consequently, in principle, it does not fall within any taxable event as such. Another issue is that with the liquidity you take from the loan, if you make transactions, those transactions may involve a type of buying and selling, acquiring an asset, again to then sell it, and those specific transactions could have tax implications. But initially, a loan, on a personal level, it doesn't have implications such beyond what I've mentioned before, that obviously each case is unique. But if you're self-employed or a business, there is a tax aspect regarding the payment of interest. The debt may need to appear on your balance sheet if you're a business, and there each person will have to assess their situation. As I mentioned before, we are not tax advisors, and we cannot provide advice in that regard. It's true that a loan doesn't have any taxable event as such regarding the loan operation itself, unless, of course, you're self-employed or a business or have some special circumstance. But in this sense, just because you take USF in UST as a loan, it doesn't mean that you will have to, let's say, in this case, have to assume any taxable event as such.
Okay. Álvaro, also, what was I going to say to you? Sergio asks us, I don't see where B2Me Loan is in the application. Is it already rolled out for everyone? So do they just need to update the B2Me app to make sure they can see it, or what's going on?
We've discussed that, and it's an important point. It's available for users who have a version starting from v3 28.1. From that version, meaning if we go to the store right now and download the latest version available, we'll have it available and we'll be able to see it.
Excellent, because it's super important for many cases that the app is updated, as there are performance improvements, security enhancements, new applications like in this case, or new features. So always keep both your operating system and the B2Me app updated to fix any possible errors, improve performance, and enhance security. It's super important to have the app updated. And not least important, the B2Me app needs to be updated to fix any possible errors, improve performance, and enhance security. It's super important. Keep the app updated.
Absolutely. Then, discussing a real case and linking it to the usefulness of other B2Me services, we have cases, for example, a client told me how lucky they were to have discovered B2Me Loan. At this moment, talking about Black Friday, for example, because they found a really good deal to buy a nice, expensive phone on one of those well-known platforms that had a significant discount for Black Friday. They bought it using Bit2Me Loan, let's say, with the funds they took from a Bit2Me loan using the Bit2Me card. And in addition to the discount they had on the platform, they received a cashback that increased their ability to purchase that device at an even better price, plus receiving the cashback after using the Bit2Me card. The discount they had on the platform, they received a cashback that increased their ability to purchase that device at an even better price, plus receiving the cashback after using the Bit2Me card. So in that sense, there are definitely going to be users who will use Bit2Me Loan.
We're going to, sorry, I think it's important that we clarify this. That's exactly why the question is asked. Lars says, yes, but I understand that it's a loan in euros with collateral in Bitcoin or Ethereum. The answer, then you're going to verify it for me, is no. It's loan in stablecoin. In stablecoin with collateral, Bitcoin or Ethereum, it's really important to make that very clear, because it's not a loan in euros at any point. It's in a stablecoin with collateral, as we mentioned, in Ethereum or Bitcoin.
They are loans with digital assets.
Correct. Great. Let's make that part clear. Go ahead, Javier. Did you have something pending there? No. Just what we were discussing. I didn't have anything else to say. Let's see. What was it? No, I'm just writing everything down, but nothing. I have a real case too that they were telling us about. I'm not going to name names, etc. It's basically a user who told us that if we had started Bit2Me Loan 4 years ago, they would have saved themselves from having to live in Japan for 4 years, because they did it due to regulations and rules. So it's something that's very much desired and appreciated. I know there are users who have been trying it out. integrating it with other utilities we have or tools, like we were discussing, Bit2Me Live, and even having it from that loan, generating rewards in Bit2Me once we've already requested it, of course.
We're going to have to call all of this the alchemy of crypto, because in the end, we're acting like alchemists, but in the financial world with this new technology, it's amazing. With the example you mentioned earlier, Álvaro, about cashback, card, loan, and everything you can combine. Hey, to remember where the service is, because Sergio, you might have joined a little later to the program. He mentions that you don't see the app within Bit2Me. Basically what Álvaro was saying.
If not, it's probably because of the version currently installed on the Labe, in case he still can't see it. Even after updating it, he should contact support, and we'll try to solve it. But well, there shouldn't be any issues at first. Yes, it is limited starting from the version that was mentioned, 3.28.1.
From there, if you easily download the version that has the manager for both them and Android, you should be able to gain access to the service without any issues. We've put up a survey, and it's quite interesting. Do you think you'll definitely try the very intriguing Bit2Me Loan? If 70% say yes, then 30% will offer 30 questions.
Exactly. In the end, I think that to have, let's see, whoever can't afford it, 100 euros, obviously they shouldn't do it. But to have an experience using a new service that's related to this technology and that you already know about because you've used it directly. How does the 100 euros thing work? I find it very interesting. Just like the first day you buy Bitcoin, damn, you can't just get to Bit2Me and buy, well, I don't know what it is, but you should be absolutely convinced and go ahead and buy 100,000 euros. Come on, people. Normally, people buy 500 euros, 1,000 euros, or 50 euros, depending on what each person can afford. So nothing. I would tell you that it's just another experience. I've used it, and I liked it. I asked for a loan of 1,000 euros, and they gave me 500. I used that to buy Bitcoin when it was at 93,000, 94,000. Now it's at 105. So that Bitcoin is worth more now. And if I sell it, it's going to cost me less. I'm going to have to use less than what I asked for to pay back the loan and the difference. I'm definitely going to keep it.
But it's interesting because you always say that selling Bitcoin isn't the way to go. It's a good way to get some liquidity without actually selling Bitcoin.
Not Bitcoin, but you need euros to pay at the supermarket. In the end, even though you could also do it with the Bit2Me card, buying Bitcoin, connecting it with the card, and then paying at the supermarket to get the cash back. But well, in the end, what's the idea? So a bit of the idea, to summarize, Álvaro, because you explained everything super well, but basically we have a new service, which is Bit2Me Loan. If you have Bitcoin and Ethereum in Bit2Me, it will be activated automatically. A proposal that will give you up to 50% of the value of your Bitcoin or Ethereum, which you can pay back whenever you want, in whatever way you want, and you'll have a percentage that will go hand in hand. Depending on the level of Space Center you have, then you have to keep an eye on the price, whether it goes up or down. And then you have the whole support team, which you can use for different purposes and so on. That's the super summary, super condensed.
Correct. Also, as you were saying, a first point of contact, even before that test, is the simulator. That's what it's for. That point of contact is, I'm going to do a simulator. I find it interesting. You can now create your own personal strategies based on the data that the simulator is showing you. The next step is to try an amount that won't cause you any stress and stabilize your personal situation.
Always be mindful, be careful, and hey, give it a try. And if you have any questions, I think there are going to be new things that Álvaro will bring us, just like Neil has come before, like Leif comes, like, well, different parts of the team that develop different verticals. We also have with Juan Lu, Bit2Me Car, as you know, there will also be news. So I don't know if you want to add anything, Álvaro. Any more questions?
I want to add a topic that is fundamental. Above all, linking back to what I mentioned at the beginning, that with Victim and Long, we opened a new, innovative, and groundbreaking paradigm in the ecosystem, in the sector, and transformative, forward-thinking ideas. From Victor and as a regulatory entity, in other words, we're used to and hear a lot about DeFi. DeFi is great. It gives tremendous capabilities to all users like us. Not individually, but it has its limitations. When you want to face the world out there, That is to say, when you go to your financial institution and they ask you, where do these funds come from? Well, it's just that I have a platform. Things are starting to get complicated. One of the issues that will contribute Bit2Me Loan from the regulated perspective of Bit2Me, from our compliance vision, our commitment to compliance, etc., our users will have, let's say, the assurance that the source of the funds they are using has been verified, and therefore they will not suffer any kind of blockage, any kind of restriction, any kind of limitation. When they go out there, if, for example, they want to go pay for a home purchase, they are going to go to the notary, they are going to go to the bank to make the transfer, they will have all the documentation. We are an entity, let's say, an obligated subject that ensures we comply with all the regulations required of us. In that sense, we will guarantee that the source of the funds that a user is using can be used legitimately without any issues when they go to use it. And conversely, the same applies as a regulated entity with renowned investors who, in addition to the financial sector, are dedicated to institutional custody of assets, etc. It is evident that when a user takes out a loan, they will also have that assurance, the guarantee that behind it is an entity like Bit2Me, which is not a protocol that can suffer from certain hacks or specific issues. And in the end, I think that environment which we have built from Bit2Me, from the regulated side, for the user that tomorrow they want to make it a reality, any of these use cases, like buying a house or a car, they will be able to do without any problem, and with the assurance that the day they repay the funds, they will recover the guarantee. I think that's, for me, the summary and the most important point of the product and what it contributes, not only obviously to Bit2Me, like having a new service and of this importance, not only for our users, but also for the market, the sector, and obviously the crypto ecosystem.
Awesome. This is part of it. Awesome. This is part of the adoption. I like the final comment that I saw. He says, well, more than a comment, I'm going to make even a reflection. Marta says, I passed it on the other day. The referral code to the director of my bank, she was surprised by what I did with what I asked her. So that is also part of global adoption and services like the ones we are presenting. Precisely, Bit2Me Loan is part of how we adapt to the reality we have with cryptocurrencies and the traditional world. As we have always said, we are kind of a gateway and also a bridge between the traditional world and the Bitcoin ecosystem and all its technology.
Absolutely. Today has been fantastic. Thank you so much to everyone who has followed us live. This will obviously be uploaded in case anyone wants to take a look at it calmly. If you have any questions while using the product within the app, please let us know if you have any issues. And well, thanks to Jose, who is also there in charge of the Duo video. And nothing, we will continue as we approach 2025. I think it's going to be a spectacular year, and we still have Christmas in between. If we don't see each other, I don't know if we have a program, Giovanni, or not, until the end of the year. But if we don't see each other, then happy holidays on behalf of the entire Bit2Me team. If we see each other, then we congratulate you again, delighted, and it's been a pleasure as always.
We really appreciate your company, and that's right. Thank you, Álvaro. Thanks to all the Bit2mers, and we will see each other very soon, for sure. See you soon. Thanks to you all. Thank you very much. Greetings.
Do you need liquidity and you don't want to sell your cryptocurrencies? Bit2Me Loan is the perfect solution. Get instant liquidity without complications and without selling your assets. Get up to 1 million euros just with your digital assets as collateral, no fees, no credit checks, and with instant approval. Access your loan in just a few minutes and enjoy the financial freedom you deserve. Bit2Me Loan. Liquidity without limits.